Hi, it's Jeff here. Before we start our latest Six Nations pod, just a quick word to remind you of the Harpin Guinness Pint Predictor League. If you think you can predict the scores from this year's championship better than our panellists, then why not prove it by first downloading the free Fanzo app, then joining our league. Just enter the code HARPIN, that's HARPIN. There's a signed copy of the book on how to become a pro rugby player by Brian Moylett to be won by the best score in a single Six Nations round. The leader so far is Andrew Byrne with 67 points, and you'll have two more chances to beat that. And of course, you can also win a free pint from every match just by getting close enough to the right result. Right, time to start harping on rugby.
Shortly after they won a scrum advantage from a Luke McGrath knock-on, yet chose to play on and against our coordinative tacklers, which proved to be a costly decision, Kieran.
It was very much a counter attack. Edinburgh probably should have held on to possession there, but then credit to Larmer and credit to Osborne with the vision, and Dave Kearney. I mean, he did fantastically well to catch the ball and touch it down. We talk about James Lowe's athleticism there for the try that some people have a problem with against France, but it was certainly there was no doubt about this one, and it was one worth rewatching, I would say.
Absolutely, and it was ironic that because we were in this new stadium that Leinster hadn't played in before, we're used to playing Edinburgh and Murrayfield, where of course the try zones kind of have their own time zone. They're that deep, but this one he had limited space and still managed to get it down. But Mark, maybe this is a good time to harp on Dave Kearney's career to date. Having made his debut in 2009. He scored his first try away to the Dragons in a team that included Bernard Jackman and Malcolm O'Kelly, but also had Rhys Ruddock at 6, just like Saturday in Edinburgh. But in that time, of course, although his brother was a year or two ahead of him, Dave has done a hell of a lot for province and country himself over the years.
Yeah, a huge favourite of Joe Schmidt during Schmidt's time because he does his basics very, very well. An underrated skill, and I know it's not top of the list when it comes to picking wingers or whatever, but again, to be boring and put my coach's hat on, the work he does in those wide channels at clearing rooks is phenomenal. It's an underrated skill for a back, because the way rugby's played today, you get 13 men on your feet in defence, so you need your big carriers in midfield, and by the wingers and back threes doing their work out wide. It's an underrated skill, and one the coaches and players value quite highly, and I know Schmidt was a huge fan of his for that sort of work. A player who should have a half century of caps, who should have 20, 30 tries for Ireland. This is not, the wingers that have more caps than him. And it comes down to one thing, is injuries. He's been drastically unlucky with a number of injuries over that period. You go back, as you said, 2009, it's a 14-year career. When I'd say the average rugby career is getting like the average NFL career of maybe 4 or 5 years if you're lucky these days, and he has belied experts, and people have had to eat their words more than once in terms of Dave Kearney and his comebacks. He's had a few comebacks. Probably Lazarus is a little bit bigger, but that's about the extent of it. Consider the injuries he's had. A lot of people would have probably called it a day 4 or 5 years ago, but his testament to his work rate, his work rate off the pitch as well, because whenever he comes back, it looks like he hasn't lost a step. He's still quick, as a couple of those breaks showed. He's got a good kicking game, although he sliced one this time. His JA background from the loud pitches stands credit to him. He's a player that never lets you down, and that reliability, and he's probably James Lowe is Dave Kearney to the next level. He's a big guy as well. He's not a small winger by any matter of means. Can certainly tackle and can certainly take pressure off his centres by coming off his wing and carrying. Again, another underrated skill of his. He's had a great career. I think he may call it a day at the end of this season, because his time, I think, will be limited even more next year with the amount of under 20s coming through that we see in the current Six Nations and also last year's Six Nations. And there's a lot of guys in the academy that will be knocking on Leo's door going, right, Leo, you're here for another couple of years. When am I getting my shot? Or do I need to go to Leinster B, north of the border, or somewhere else, really? But Dave Kearney has been a fantastic servant to Leinster and Ireland, and deserves all the accolades that he gets.
Absolutely. What do you think, Kieran?
Yeah, it was on when we were talking about Reece Ruddock a while ago. Dave Kearney's another kind of Leinster stalwart. Mark used the word reliability, and that's kind of it. Like he does. We have a lot of players who probably are flashier and do a lot of good stuff. And in the days of Rob Kearney and Easton Asiwa, those two were getting a lot more of the attention. But you know, excuse me, Dave Kearney never really lets you down. I think you know, I agree on the caps. He should have a lot more, and it's just a case of saying he's never really had that run where he's played for Ireland and then been fit for a few months after. Come the next international window, he's it's probably at the stage now where, look, we know unless there's injuries, it's going to be James Lowe, Mac Hansen, and Hugo Keenan for Ireland in the back three. Is there a place on the plane? Look, it's you're bringing more forwards than backs, so it's probably not gonna happen this World Cup for a send off that will be deserved. I'd like to see him stick around for the period where Ireland are in the World Cup anyway, because I think Leinster could do with that bit of experience and leadership. I mean, you're looking at Leinster are going to be missing definitely going to be missing more players than any other province. And, we do have a lot of depth, but you need that bit of experience there. Yeah, I just think he's always, from being at the RDS, watching him in games that probably don't get a lot of the attention. He's just always done well. He's always there to pop up with a try. He's watching one from a winger. He scores and he defends well and he kicks well. I think if he didn't have a older brother who was one of Ireland's best of all time, then he'd probably get a lot more attention. But he's probably a player that we'll realise after he's retired. He actually was a very important player, and I think it's a shame he never got the run for Ireland. It's probably past that stage now. But I would like to see him get I'd hope that he stays on for at least a period that Ireland are in the World Cup for to play for Leinster, so he can get a proper send off. But hopefully 2 trophies wouldn't be a bad send off either, to add to the Irish Shield, which we should mention Leinster won. Leinster won yesterday. So look,
we'll be expecting the double-decker bus sometime this week down through Donnybrook, I say.
Look, as I said, he's a Leinster stalwart that's been very good. He's never really got the run he probably should have for Ireland, but he's always been excellent for Leinster. So I think he's been a credit to the team, and it'll be sad when he does retire, whether that's at the end of the season, after the World Cup, at the end of the next season. But obviously injuries do take a toll, and players have to think about their quality of life as well. Like they don't want to be in bits when they finally retire. But probably one who's been overlooked a little bit in his time, but he's an excellent player.
Absolutely. I mean, I think it's important that we do mention him in this particular block of games, because it's, Mark, as you both said, it's coming towards the end of his career, and nothing's been announced as yet. But this particular, these 4 matches against Cardiff Dragons, Edinburgh, and now the Stormers, this is one where he started every game. So they're looking to keep the team together. So hopefully he'll be playing again in the next one. And he's really shown us everything that he's ever done for Leinster. Like Mark says, he's really good at, like you say, getting involved at the breakdown. He's really good when you get the ball to him in the wing, no matter how close to the touchline he's good at keeping the ball alive and cutting back inside and forcing a recycle and keeping the play going. One of my favorite tries of his, many tries, actually, just talking about the all-time list of Leinster scores, and that put him closer to, he's closing in on Dennis Hickey in 4th place, the all-time list. In 5th place, he's got 55 now. Dennis Hickey's 56. But one of my favorite ones was at the, I think it was at the RDS. I think it was the European Heineken Cup match against, I think it was Toulouse. And Ross Byrne, it just happened to be where I was sitting in the Anglesey stand. It was almost like Ross Byrne was kicking the ball to me. It was coming straight at me into the corner, and Kearney got it right in the corner and got the try. That was a famous one of his as well. But he scored, like you say, loads of tries over the years, and it's great that we can give him that recognition. And this was just another example of what he can do for us.